Okay, hi vinyl community, it's Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records. Haven't done many videos lately, and I've accumulated a lot of this and that, some records, I read some books, I picked up some gear over the not in the last month or so, over the last 6 or 8 months. Thought I would share that with you in this little video. I did do one video a week or so ago in which I reviewed these two books. If you haven't seen that and you're interested in the life of Robert Johnson or the Delta Blues or Memphis, Tennessee and the Great Depression, these two books, check them out, check my video out. You might enjoy it. I have nothing to sell. I have no Patreon. I don't care whether you subscribe to me or not. It'd be nice if you click like if you enjoy seeing this, so it'll appear in more people's streaming. They might enjoy as well, seeing some records and some gear and things like that. First, I'll show you the gear. I got a turntable recently, and I'll show you that along with a couple of other items. So this is my Sonograph SG3 turntable, built in about 1982 or 83. After a couple of years of production, they sold this turntable design to Conrad Johnson, the company Conrad Johnson, and they started manufacturing it. I've got a ATVM 95 ML microline cartridge on there, and really love this turntable. Enjoyed setting it up, learning more and more about that, getting everything aligned, all that sort of stuff. So that's the big thing that I've recently done. Also added this. This is a mono stereo switch. This album is a mono album. There's stereo. Switch it over when you have a mono record. Honestly, I just hooked it up. I can't hear any difference, but I'm sure it varies from record to record how much difference, how much it affects the sound. Okay, and also I've got my other turntable here. This is one of my other turntables. This is my dual 1019, and the RCA cable that connects this to my phono amp, preamp, is 7 times more expensive than this. I paid $10 for this. Now I do have a Ortofon Super OEM 10 cart, but I put the Japanese aftermarket OM20 stylus on there once the OM 10 stylus that came with it had too many hours on it. So, but I bought a cable, RCA cable from Blue Jean. Gosh, they're expensive. I shouldn't have done it. So my least expensive component has got my most expensive cable going here, and the reason I did it, I use this for 45s. I'm going to set it up for 78s as well, but I also do all my needle drops with this rather than this. I won't go into all that. It involves my preamps and amps and stuff, and what I can and can't do with this equipment here, this older equipment. So I wanted to be able to reach all the way to the preamp to plug it in if I'm playing directly into my speakers, rather than doing a needle drop. So I splurged when I shouldn't have, but I had to crunch everything up so it would reach even with a 4-foot RCA to get it to reach. So there's that. And about 6 months ago, I also picked up a VPI 16.5 record cleaning machine that I continue to use my same methods that I've always stuck by or have worked on over the years and feel confident in. And now I just don't have to turn the record with this wrist. My wrist was beginning to give me a lot of trouble, and I don't have to turn the records. I just let the VPI motor turn the records for me while I brush and vacuum and do that sort of thing. A few months ago, I purchased this VPI 16.5 record cleaner, RCM. It's not a Rickenbacker. That's just a sticker. The guy that I bought it used from a guy in California, and got everything. Got my cleaning solutions here, my brushes, so I can do all my heavy-duty cleaning of records. Now, what we just were listening to was Donald Byrd, or Don Byrd as it says on here, and Gigi Grice, Modern Jazz Perspective, with the Jazz Lab Quintet and Jackie Paris. The 1957 album, definitely a mono record. And what I've got on now is one of my recent acquisitions, Mancy Lipscomb, Texas Sharecropper and Songster. It's the first Arhoolie record, and I bought that one. Can't really see from here, but it's a green, not that matters to me, but it's a green label, green vinyl. Okay. And before I get to some of the new records I bought, let's talk about, and let me share with you some VCLT. Mark Lastman, great guy up in Toronto, and he sent me 4 records. It was so generous of him, and I want to thank him sincerely for that. He's a great guy. He's on a lot of the live streams, either in the Peanut Gallery. Sometimes he comes on, but not that often. But he has made an effort to he knows a whole lot. He grew up with jazz, unlike me, who's developing my jazz through as an old man. So he's shared with me some things that he thought I might enjoy. He knew I love Bessie Smith, so this is Laverne Baker from 1988. She's singing Bessie Smith. That's on Atlantic. And 2 from Sonny Fortune. They were mentioning Sonny Fortune on the Jazz Bones. And Awakening is this one, and this one is Waves of Dreams, and these are from 75 and 76, a period when there wasn't as much great jazz out there, but this is one of the fellows during that period that really stood up to the test of time. I've enjoyed both of these records, and the one I by far enjoy the most that he sent me is one by Ricky Ford, another one of these artists that came in after the big 60s heyday, I guess you'd say, of so many artists, and this is a 1982 album, Interpretations. He's with John Hicks, Walter Booker, Jimmy Cobb, Wallace Rooney, and Robert Watson. I guess this is post-bop, but excellent. And he's a professor, according to what I read on Discogs, in a music professor in Istanbul. Interesting. Okay. And Mike Tone, Notes and Tones, knows so much about jazz. He was telling me that this guy, his best work, this is one of his best works, but a lot of his work came after during the CD era, and a lot of it's only available on CD. So if you're looking for some jazz that's not the usual suspects, that might be somebody you want to check out. And I purchased some records on auctions, and just purchased from a couple of the usual suspects, Mazzy and Rob the Wax. And they're both very generous, and oftentimes, not every time necessarily, but oftentimes, when you purchase some records from them, they'll throw in one or two or more extras. And I purchased some records that I'll show you in a minute from Mazzy, and he threw in Tennessee Ernie Ford favorites. And of course, this does have 16 tons on it from 1957. Appears to be a original pressing, or early pressing at least, not necessarily the very first one. And Clifton Chenier, Clifton's Cajun Blues. I love this stuff. I love some Zydeco and some Cajun. And this is a record on Prophecy Records from 1970. And he threw in Sandy Denny. Excellent album. I don't have this one in sleeve yet because it took about 3 cleans, and I've got it where it plays really, really good. Not that it played bad to begin with, but there was a little bit of noise there. It took me about 3 good cleans, and I got that taken care of. And John Mayall, Jazz Blues Fusion. And on this he's got Blue Mitchell playing the trumpet on here. This is from '72. So those are, some very enjoyable records that people gifted me, mostly. And here's the records that I actually got from Mazzy when he gifted me those nice records. Dillard and Clark, The Fantastic Expedition of Dillard and Clark. Of course, Gene Clark and Doug Dillard from the Dillards, Gene Clark from the Byrds, of course. And this is on A&M from 1968. This album is hard to come by. And Mazzy happened to show it one day on a live stream, and I immediately emailed him. Mazzy, if you're willing to sell me that, I want to buy that ASAP. And he was. And so I was very, very glad to get that. And this is an elusive album. If you can find an original, you're doing great. I've got one original copy in VG condition. This is a later British copy. Guy Clark, Old Number One, his debut album. And this one is on Edsel Records, which is that label out of Great Britain, repressed in 1988. I was searching for this album in the late 70s after it came out in 72 or 3, something like that. And I could not, I had record store people trying to order it for me, could not get it. It was out of press, and it was just impossible to get. So I was glad that. Now, sometimes people will put extra records when you buy something from them on Discogs, for instance. They'll just stuff a couple of records they can't get rid of in there to, thicken up the box and take up space in the box, so you don't have. But sometimes when they do it, it's just that record that maybe you're the only person that cares anything about it, and that was the case on this one. The Swan Silvertones, What's the Matter Now? Gospel album from a gospel group out of West Virginia originally. The Swan was a baking company. They had a show in Knoxville, I believe, for a long time. That the bakery sponsored them, and they got them to put the name of the bakery in the band's name, the group's name. Excellent gospel album here. I love good gospel music. A disappointment. I've been getting into Mac McCormick, the musicologist. Looking forward to Smithsonian issuing the 6 LP, the man playing for the man at the door. He's a musicologist, amateur in Texas, and he recorded countless hours of various artists, including blues artists, but not just blues artists, in Texas and Mississippi, places like that. And his daughter, when he passed away, his daughter donated everything to Smithsonian. They're putting out that. But so reading different things about him, This is a kind of a weird record, and I'd read a little bit about it, and I said, well, I'm gonna get it. And it's the unexpurgated folk songs of men. Now look at the label. Yeah, that's just a sticker. It's just a sticker, and it's a sticker over here. It says same thing on both sides, and no names of any artists or anything, because what it is dirty songs, you know, limericks and stuff like that. And I got it, and I thought it was honest with you, it's a little too explicit for me, and I'm pretty, you know, live and let live, and I can laugh about something, but it just didn't. There's a couple of blues songs. Lightning Hopkins does one. They think it's Lightning Hopkins, and Nancy Lipscomb does one or two, and you know, they're kind of funny a little bit, but for the most part, there's some other guys doing old Irish limericks and stuff like that. That's just, you know, yeah, I wasted my money on that one. Sealed album I got. And I'll probably do more on this later. If you Psych fans, this is Plant and See. Their debut album, it was on White Whale. If you remember, the Turtles were the main act on White Whale, but this is a 2012 Paradise of Bachelors issue of this obscure psych rock band made up of mostly folks from the Robinson County, North Carolina area, Lumbee Indians and others, African American and whites as well in the band. But it's very interesting, and I've got on order from Japan the follow-up album from that was '69. Follow-up from 1970, which was they changed their name to Lumbee, the name of the Native American tribe in Robinson County. And then I've tried to get everything from Tony Rice, and pretty much have it. This is one I didn't have, goes for a lot of money. I was able to find a motivated seller and get this. This is he and his brothers, and I think an uncle plays on here a little bit as well. Great. It's not strictly a bluegrass album. It's got some new acoustic type stuff in it. It's folk stuff. It's a really good album. Latter Day, 1989. That's probably one reason I had trouble getting it, because mostly it was CDs. Now, from Rob, the Waxed, I really got a great jump on my collection of Julie London records. Didn't have any. He sold me 3 and threw one in that wasn't in as good a condition, and so it was real good. This was the one he added to it. Julie Is My Name, 1956. Love that. And the 3 I actually got from, and this was the same case. I saw those records and I said, I text or email Rob, I said, you know, I'd like to buy those as a bundle if you'd be willing to sell them. And he was. From 59, Swing Me an Old Song. Julie with the Jim Rawls Orchestra. Love that cover. And that was from 1960. And Lonely Girl, this is probably my copy. Lonely Girl. Beautiful lady. 1956. And they're all on Liberty. So really glad to get hold of those. Really enjoying getting into some of the non-rock female vocalists, you know, her being a good example, I guess. And I got some new records. New, meaning sealed, not necessarily new. I haven't cleaned these yet. But this is Sherry Jones and the Doubt Kings. Sherry Jones and the Doubt Kings. Just dropped in to see what condition my rendition was in. this is covers that they did for soundtracks and commercials and things like that, covers of other people's songs. And of course, from the title, you know, they did the old Kenny Rogers song, Kenny Rogers' first edition. Guy Clark, I showed you a Guy Clark a little while ago. I think this is his last album. Workbench songs. Love Guy Clark. To me, if you look up Texas singer-songwriter dictionary, that's who you should see right there, the picture of Guy Clark. And this wasn't a sealed album. An Oscar Peterson trio I got when I got those two, because it's cheaper when you buy more. Affinity from the Oscar Peterson trio. I think this is from 1962. He did like 4 albums in 1962. Also got a collection from the widow of a friend of mine, who is the widow of a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, passed away a couple years ago. And after the family got the records that they wanted, and one of his very best friends, or one or two of his very best friends, went in and got some records, I went in and took the rest of her records, and got he didn't have, this is the only jazz record, and I got like 400 records, maybe more, maybe 500. Dixieland Jazz Classics, and it's got Louis Armstrong on it, and Jelly Roll Morton. It's got Beckerback, and it's got King Oliver's Trio Jazz Band. Lots of good ones. The Wolverines are on here. I got to clean this one up as well. And here's the thing about when you get records from your friends locally and everything. Here's another gospel record. Thanks for Loving Me. The Shoremen, Meet the Shoremen, their debut album. And that's Louis Rosser. Now you're saying, who is Louis Rosser? Louis Rosser is the sheriff of Florida County, the county I live in. He was our county sheriff for as long as he wanted to run, maybe 20 years or more. There he is. And this is a band basically out of Sanford. He was from the Mamers community. Sanford's in Lee County. He was from the Mamers community up toward the Lee County line. And I'm guessing this is around 1972 or so, something along that line. And Louis Rosser sings the baritone. So I'm looking forward to getting this one cleaned up and listen to my former sheriff. He had 2 of these, but one of them ended up being broken all the way across, crap. But the 45, I've got the album and the follow-up album for this, but Sergeant Barry Sadler, The Ballad of the Green Beret. And he was, that was a huge hit during the height of the Vietnam War, kind of the alternate take to the anti-war movement, I guess you could say. But he was was a sergeant and staff sergeant, U.S. Army Special Forces. So he was stationed, pointing the right direction, over my shoulder. He was stationed about 15 or 20 miles over my shoulder at what it was in Fort Bragg. They just changed their name to Fort Liberty a month ago, something like that. But here's the thing I hope so much was still in that collection when I went and got it from Wanda. A local guy made a 45 in 1969 when he was 18 years old. And on the flip side is I Don't Care, but the main song was Journey of Apollo 11. And I'm working on a video about this 45 and Curtis Temple that wrote it. So you look forward to that, hopefully, if that's of any interest to you. So, records through playing. I've showed you some gear. I've showed you new records. I've showed you VCLT. And I've shown you some used records that I've picked up and recommended a couple of books and a video I did on those books to you. So I hope everybody enjoyed watching this. I hope it won't run too long. And I hope you'll all remember to be kind to your neighbors, folks, because you know, We are all neighbors.